It is time for community associations to really just understand we're human beings. And as human beings, we want respect, we want dignity, but we also want to be heard. We want to be listened to. And so what we're going to do is take a couple minutes as board members to hear people out, to hear their concerns, and just acknowledge their concerns. We don't have to agree with their concerns. They can say, guess what? The special assessment is outrageous. We don't have any money. The assessments are too high. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your concern, and we'll take it back to the board. That's it.
HOA Insights is brought to you by 5 companies that care about board members: Association Insights and Marketplace, Association Reserves, Community Financials, Kevin Davis Insurance Services, and the Inspectors of Election. You'll find links to their website and social media in the show notes.
Hi, I'm Robert Nordlund of Association Reserves.
And I'm Kevin Davis of Kevin Davis Insurance Services, and this is the HOA Insights, where we promote common sense
For common areas. Welcome to episode 142, where we're again speaking with insurance expert and regular co-host Kevin Davis. This is a follow-up to our episode 140, where all 3 of us, myself, Kevin, and Julie, spoke about the top trends to be aware of in 2026. And incivility was clearly one of the top 3. So today we have some time to dive into that a bit deeper. How much do you need to embrace as a part of normal life, just the tension and incivility? And what can you do to keep it from getting out of hand? We want our listeners to be well prepared for the challenges facing them here in 2026 and be well equipped to lead their associations forward. Last week's episode 141 was a great interview with Jeremy Lara, the president of Baja Roofing, and it was an opportunity for you to get a sneak preview into the world of a roofing company, how they see associations, what makes a roofing project more or less expensive, how long a roof lasts, the value of ongoing maintenance, things like that. Roofs are regularly one of the most expensive projects at an association, and we wanted you to have an opportunity to listen in, kind of eavesdrop on a conversation with a roofer where nothing about your association or its roof was at stake. If you missed that episode or any other prior episode, take a moment after today's program to listen from our podcast website, hoainsights.org, or search for HOA Insights on YouTube. But better yet, subscribe from any of the major podcast platforms or subscribe to our podcast on the YouTube channel so you don't miss any future episodes. More subscribers fundamentally means a higher search ranking, which means we can reach more boards with these free educational and inspirational episodes. So we're trying to help as many associations as possible, and you can help us accomplish that. Well, those of you watching on YouTube can see the HOA Insights mug I have here. Kevin, you've got one too. Cool. Favorites, of course, we're on the team, and we got those from the merch store, which you can browse through from our hoainsights.org website or the link in our show notes. And you find we have some great free stuff there, like board member Zoom backgrounds and some specialty items for sale like mugs. So go to the merch store, see if there's anything interesting there that you'd like to purchase, or just download a free Zoom background for your next board meeting. Well, we enjoy hearing from you, responding to the issues you're facing at your association. So if you have a hot topic, a crazy story, or a question you'd like us to address, you can always contact us, leave a message at 805-203-3130, or email us at podcast@hoainsights.org. But today's program is on us. We, again, want to set you up for success in 2026. So let's get right to the subject. Kevin, how much incivility is healthy?
Well, you know what? Incivility is a big problem now, more than it's ever been before. But first, I want to say, what do we define incivility? To me, when I hear that word, it's disrespectful behavior. Okay, it's treating somebody with disrespect. Somebody in your community association, it could be a person who lives next to you, it could be the board member, it could be the landscaper. And what we're seeing more and more these days is this disrespectful behavior within community associations. Now, basically, these people are a nuisance. You know, these are people who go through the association and just kind of just bug everybody. They're a nuisance, but there's a difference between a nuisance and lack of civility. To me, when you talk about lack of civility, it's contagious. It goes throughout the community association to the point where it just lowers the temperature and everybody feels like, you know, they don't matter and things don't matter and what they're doing doesn't matter. And so I think that's, to me, what we're talking about with lack of civility in community associations in a nutshell.
Okay. Because I think of board members have different priorities than homeowners. Homeowners don't have the responsibility that board members do, so they're going to see things differently. And then you add in how long you've been at the association. There's people there that have been there 20, 30 years and like it the way it was in the good old days. People from different socioeconomic backgrounds. There's people with kids, people with no kids. And let's not even talk about the dog owners, pickleball players, or all those other factions.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a mismatch. You're not going to be best friends with everyone. But what you're talking about here is people that, well, I guess in prior episodes we've spoken about we want to cool things down. When tempers get hot, to cool it down. But here we're talking about incivility really drives it down to cold, where people are grouchy, they're mean, and you use the word disrespectful. So it's one thing to pass by someone in the hall or someone going to the mailbox area and hey, you're cool. That's fine. You don't have to be best friends. But it's one thing if they're just plain mean or disrespectful.
And that's the difference there, Robert, is that historically we always had people in the community association that everybody ignored. We all had that one person in there that, there's that guy go again. When that lack of civility gets there, it just, all of us feel that way. We all start feeling that same negative energy. And you're right, cold is the right word. If we want to have a goal today, let's teach people how to change that attitude to when you meet somebody with lack of civility, or somebody there who really is rude or disrespectful. These are certain things you got to be able to do now, because this is 2026 and we want to stop some of the behavior that we've seen since COVID. COVID's over 6 years ago now. And now all of a sudden what we need to do is say, okay, we recognize as human beings that we need to treat each other with respect. We live in a community association where we see each other all the time. We walk past each other.
Right.
And you're right. We all have different agendas, different ideas, different viewpoints, but let's start respecting the other person's viewpoint.
I think about, wasn't it Abraham Lincoln that famously had a cabinet of disagreement or something like that, a cabinet where they had constructive discussions amongst each other. What's better? What's worse? What should our strategy be? I get that. But we are indeed in community association living, and we either, in a HOA, we share the same entryway, the same roadway, or in a condo, we're in the same hallway, using the same garbage chute, the same elevators, that kind of stuff. So we're in close quarters. We can't really avoid people. But when you started talking about this, I started thinking about the chill that some people bring just by walking. It's like, oh no, just that kind of thing.
But let's look at it this way. Let's say we focus in, we're a board. You and I are the president and vice president of Happy Acres Community Association. And we said, we're going to start this year, 2026, to be a little bit kinder to one another. And guess what? By being kinder, what happens is that when it comes to assessment collection, when it comes to maintaining the association, right? When it comes to enforcing the rules, we're just going to enact those things in a more kindly way. Instead of saying, you're late, or how come you didn't do X or Y, or how come this is going on, we have to address things differently. We're going to do everything we do in a kindlier way.
That sounds trite, but I think that's the foundation of so much of social interaction. We talk about social graces, the ability for me to say, oh, gee, I'm sorry, I'm 5 minutes late. Just to acknowledge that it's on me. I'm late. I'm sorry. Rather than barging into a room in a pompous manner, just saying, now that I'm here, we can start. There's all these social graces and being kind, and we've had episodes where we talk about vision and mission. And even though we're talking about some very important things, collecting assessments, getting everything maintained, following the rules, you can choose, and Julie will say it, you can choose your tone, you can choose to do it in a kind manner, and say in a way that is, can we even say like Mr. Rogers, neighborly?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, but let's do this now, because what happens now, people listen to this and go, we live in a fantasy world, because we don't manage associations. But however, we both served on board of directors of community associations. So we're speaking from experience. Now, let's look at it this way. What if they don't? Let's say that, us as board members, we're not kind to everybody. And it's 2026, and now all of a sudden, we need to pass special assessment. Now, what do you think is going to be the easiest way to pass special assessment? By being kind about it and saying, listen, this is what we need to do because the roofer, we need new roofs. We heard last week about Mr. Roofer there, and we listened, and guess what? It's time to get a new roof. Now, when we talk in a kindly manner as opposed to, guess what we need to do now? We need to get a roof. Because it starts in that boardroom. If you and I are saying, oh, no, not another, we can't believe that, do this again, it permeates throughout the community association. If we are together and we're saying, guess what? We got to get this roof. We got to communicate the roof now and talk about why we need it. And let's do it in a kindly way. Then guess what's going to happen? People will be more responsive than us saying, we need a special assessment, we need a new roof, we need to do it now. That's when people start feeling like, wait a minute, I'm not engaged, I'm not involved, I'm not motivated. So it kind of disables that to happen. Exactly.
Right.
We
put
that
us
wall
versus
up.
them.
Exactly. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's, I think you've said it, it's a choice. And number two, it's a way to be human. It's like, oh, darn. You could literally announce it that way. We're sorry, but the roof isn't making it to 2028 like we thought. The roof is leaking now. And because we have tried to keep assessments to a minimum, we don't have a lot of margin, and it looks like we're going to have to pass a special assessment. Please come to this meeting in a month. We can talk more about it. So it's a tone of, we're sorry, we get it. This is bad news that we have to share. It's not like, darn it.
Yes. Yep. And it starts with us as the board members. It starts with us, Robert, as you're the president, I'm the vice president or chair, whatever you want to call me. And we have to come out first because we can't control the unit owners. They can be disrespectful. They can be rude. They can be obnoxious. They can be a nuisance to us. But if we come out first and we say, listen, this is what we're going to do in 2026, our board is committed to being kinder and using kinder words. And we believe that's going to change our association's culture. Because again, incivility is contagious. Unlike being a nuisance. Nuisance, we know that person is a nuisance and we avoid them. But a person who lacks civility, it creates that lack civility to all of us across the board. And we need to change that culture. We need to change that association's culture, that mindset by saying, guess what? There's no hope. If I go out there and say we need a special assessment, guess what's going to happen? They'll get mad at me, yell at me, and they want to get me off the board. They have a board recall. All those things that we know can happen. It still can happen, Robert. They still can say we want to recall that existing board because they don't have the right to pass special assessment. Now, we have a choice. We can panic, or we can be disrespectful back, or we can say, listen, based on the last election, it was a proper election. We know it's proper. So, the ability to recall election at this time, is not really appropriate. And we talk kind to somebody, it's harder to get, for some of us to get mad. We get mad no matter what. But it's harder to get mad at somebody when they are looking at you and saying, especially looking right at you in the eye and said, listen, I understand your feelings right now, but it's something we need to do because the roofs will leak.
And there's nothing we can do about it.
Nothing we can do about it.
4 units that got wet in the last rain.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of the matter. Yeah. The word I'm thinking is compassionate, where you're not cramming anything down someone's throat. And it is a choice. Just like I believe, you said that one of the key issues about incivility was it was contagious. I think what you choose as a board member, commit to setting the tone, commit to being kinder, commit to being more compassionate. That setting the tone sets the culture at the association, and you can start to spin it in the right direction where people understand that it's a we, and the board members aren't a bunch of bad people over there. They are, boy, I'm glad I'm not a board member. They got to wrestle with all these hard questions, and then they can be compassionate towards you back. Do you think it ends up going back and forth like that?
Again, that's what I think for this year. If we start the trend. We start saying, you know what? It is time for community associations to really just understand we're human beings. And as human beings, we want respect, we want dignity, but we also want to be heard. We want to be listened to. And so what we're going to do is take a couple minutes as board members to hear people out, to hear their concerns, and just acknowledge their concerns. We don't have to agree with their concerns. They can say, guess what? The special assessment is outrageous. We don't have any money. The assessments are too high. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your concern, and we'll take it back to the board. That's it. We just acknowledge what they're saying. We're not saying we agree with them and we will make a change. Just acknowledge that we heard what you're saying, and we have that same problem. I believe also, too, that I can't afford a special assessment, but sometimes we need to be able to do certain things for the benefit of the association. It's a mind shift that if we started in 2026, in 2028, in January, we'll have a different talk about when we talk about, remember 2 years ago we talked about lack of civility? It seemed to have gone away, don't you think?
Yeah.
And that's our goal.
Yeah. I bet it is something that is not measured in months. It may be measured in years, but you got to start now. And I also think my wife and I were talking about this yesterday, how we fight. And we were talking about a younger couple that we know that seems to be having a lot of tension in their life. We talked about a commitment that we made early in our marriage that when we thought the other one of us was attacking us, we committed to believing that we had misheard and that person really did have our best interests. And we would talk about on a numerical scale that if I felt my wife hit me with on a 1 to 10, if we were having a nice, peaceful 1-2 conversation and she hit me with a 5, I committed to thinking I must have misheard her. She wouldn't attack me out of that, because early in our marriage, she would say something that I thought was a 5 and I'd come back with an 8. And from her point of view, she hadn't said what she said. And so I'd come out of the blue and hit her with an 8. And we realized we created a fight.
Yes.
Just by misunderstanding.
I would go one step even different with what you're saying is great, but understand too is that what we normally do is make the assumption that you're not looking at my best interests instead of saying, you know what? I believe that we all have the same interests. We all want to have a better association, okay? So if you're saying you want to raise the assessments, and I said, no, you can't do it, I'm assuming that you're not looking out for my best interests. And, you go back to your fiduciary responsibility to look at the best interest of the association. If we say that as board members, we have one job, to make sure the association, we have a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interest of the association without any conflict. And if we do that on a consistent basis, guess what happens? Then we should be okay. That's all. We can follow that one basic rule. We're enforcing the rules, we're collecting assessments, we're maintaining the association. Just understand that we have one job to do. So that if we're talking, we're in a board meeting together, Robert, and all of a sudden we have a disagreement, the disagreement for me, I go, yeah, but we have the same belief that, but now he may go over a different way than I do, but let's talk it out and see what's the best way to get that special assessment. You say you may get it all at once, or maybe we want to do it over a 2-year period. So we're talking about something that, okay, let's have a vote on it and see, as opposed to saying, you're wrong. You're wrong. What do you think? Doesn't make any sense to me. That's our first response. Let's protect ourselves by saying you're wrong. Anger shows up, and that anger shows up, then you can't go forward. Once anger is there, I'm defending myself. Where do you go from there? Right.
And I get angry at you, you get angry at me.
Yep.
I'm wondering if there's that extra middle ground where if we're, again, in this hypothetical, we're talking about a special assessment because of the roof. Maybe we call the roofer up and say, hey, Joe or Fred or Susie or whatever their name is, what are the chances you could repair it for only $50,000 and buy us another couple of years? And that way you get a professional opinion. And that way I'm not blaming you, you're not blaming me. And the roofer says, we could do that, or you just be throwing good money after bad because the roof's still going to cost $400,000 and you're going to have to do it next spring and you're going to end up spending $450,000 because of all this interim stuff you do. That way it separates between me being mad at you and you have this other thing that helps you. Well, I guess you have to commit to that one thing. That's what's in the best interest of the association. And I think if you're asking the right questions, then all of a sudden you start to get some clarity.
But that's what happens, though. If you think about it, if I'm angry, you're angry, there's no option B.
Yeah.
If we communicate, there's an option B. Oh, let's just call the roofer.
Yeah.
And find out what they say. Then all of a sudden, now we're being more We're not angry. We're not operating. We're still debating what the right answer is. We don't know. But because I accept the fact that we're both on the same page and meaning that we both want what's in the best interest of the association, then there's an option B.
I like that. And then once you start thinking about options, there's probably a whole lot of options. Can the roofer start with just a deposit? And so can we have a special assessment that we collect over 12 months? And so it's ongoing where we give them payments over 12 months and that kind of stuff. So there's lots of different ways. And then you can ask your manager, has that worked successfully at any of the other associations they know of? And get the manager's opinion.
We have to watch out because one thing we got to watch out for is that stop sign. Whenever we ever communicate with each other, there's always a magical stop signs that appears and the communication stops because of anger or because of something happens out there. And once it stops, then it starts going in a different direction. You have to understand that, wait a minute, that stop sign disappeared. Am I still open to the possibilities? Because sometimes, we start getting angry because we don't believe we're being heard. You didn't hear me, Robert. I said I want to do it now. You didn't hear me. Then all of a sudden, stop sign gets up there. And we have to be aware of that stop sign in ourselves and in others so that we can go, okay, I get it. I understand. Let's figure out another way.
Yeah. Hey, we need to take a break and hear from one of our generous sponsors, but I'm wondering, have you ever heard of an association or have you been exposed to an association where they were having an impasse? They're in a board meeting, they're having tension, and they just say, let's take a break. It's 7:30, it's 8 o'clock at night. How about we take a break and we convene over at Billy's bar and drinks are on me and just a change of scenery and 10 minutes for everyone to cool down and just to talk about it over drinks or coffee or whatever. Have you seen that play out? What do you think about that?
Okay, that's going to play out whenever we're talking about the stop sign. The stop sign's up. So somebody has to recognize the stop sign is up, and what do we do about it? And we end it. Okay, we got to take a break now. Let's stop and just kind of move forward. Let's do something different. That stop sign is so important that whoever's running the meeting and whoever is in that room know that we reached that point where we can't do anything else. We're going to have to take a break and reconvene, but let's get a drink first or let's go out and socialize a little bit because at the end of the day, we're all on the same page. We want to do what's in the best interest of the community association.
Okay, cool. Hey, let's do that. Let's take a break. Time to hear from one of our generous sponsors, after which we'll be back with more common sense for common areas and the discussion about incivility and what we can do to mitigate it.
Hi, I'm Kevin Davis, the president of Kevin Davis Insurance Services. Our experienced team of underwriters will help you when you get that declination. We provide the voice of reason, someone who will stand by you. Our underwriters bring years of knowledge to our clients that can't be automated by technology or driven by price. As a proud Anwins company, we bring true value to your community association clients. We are your community association insurance experts.
And we're back. Well, we're trying to figure out where do we go with making the world a better place here. And this is actually so important, we believe, to so many associations across the country that are feeling like there's a lot of things going wrong. There's a lot of tension and avoiding those stop signs that you mentioned, Kevin. So what can we proactively do? You talked right at the beginning about committing to being kinder. What does that look like?
Understanding that, we live in a world where people are disrespectful to one another. So we're saying is that if we are kind to ourselves as a group of board members, we can make a change. Now, what does that mean? To me, you set expectations. The first thing, set expectations, meaning that we as a board saying that we want to be kind to one another and kind to the people who live in our community. I don't care if you're a renter, you live there, or a landscaper. This is our statement for 2026 to our community. We're going to focus on kindness. And you mentioned the word compassion too, and that is the result of kindness. The way to show your kindness is being compassionate, to hear somebody and say that, oh, you have a problem right now with your assessments. Let's kind of talk about it. Maybe we can figure out a way to help you. That's compassion, empathy, all those things that we hear about, they kind of get left at the door because guess what? We're frustrated as board members because we got to make the tough decisions about that roof.
Then you hit that stop sign and then you got a problem. Okay. I think about it. You talked about the vision and mission statement. I think in the last few months, we've talked a lot about that on the program, having a guiding statement, a guiding principle that maybe you read at the beginning of board meetings? I'm thinking so many board meetings are now online. And so just say, welcome. What a privilege it is to be at where we at today. Happy Acres?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, what a privilege it is to be here at Happy Acres. Happy birthday to us. We just celebrated 32 years as an association. You can choose words that make it sound like we are happy to be here. We are lucky to be here. We have good things going on. And then, the celebrate your victories. The pool, we're going to open the pool 1 week early this year, or we're going to get the pool resurfaced when the pool's closed before we open at Memorial Day. You can celebrate victories. You can celebrate the good things that happen. The local high school football team won the state championship. I don't know what it is, but I think there's so much you can do to welcome people. Welcome to the board meeting, whether it's in person.
I like that word of celebration. I think the more we celebrate, the more we get used to celebrating. And then, again, all those things go together. When we talk about being kind and compassionate, it all means that you matter. And when you matter and I matter, guess what? We get things done. If you don't matter as a human being, I can't work with you. If I'm looking at you and go, oh, this guy gets on my nerves, there's no way where we can work together. I'm going to have to look at you in the eye and say, you know what? I believe we can really get some work done. I think we can make a difference. Let's make a difference. Now, it's not an easy thing to do, but if one person starts it in that board, there's one person said, I heard this podcast about being kind to one another. Let's try that and see, because we do have a lot of people in it who's disrespectful to one another. And sometimes we are too, as board members. We have a choice, board members, not to be disrespectful. If we choose that way, we can't control them, but we control our own behavior. Mic drop now, right?
Yeah, mic drop. I'm thinking a long time ago with Saturday Night Live, was it Chevy Chase and Jane Curtin would say, Jane, you ignorant slut. And we're going to be sending people to search for YouTube on that.
Not really, because everybody listens to our YouTube is our age, remember?
That's right. But how you set the tone in your discussion to each other, privately, in public, in front of the homeowners. Boy, as much as incivility is contagious, I think the kindness, the compassion that you show, that's contagious also. And it's really hard for someone to be a bully to you when you're smiling there and you have a reputation of being kind. All of a sudden, the bully looks so out of place.
So that's our message. And we want in 2026, we're going to switch over contagion of being incivility or lack of civility to kindness. And we're going to make that contagious. Kindness has to be contagious to one another. And then we will see. Again, 2 years from now in 2028, our first conversation is going to be, so what do you think? Have we still incivil? What was our lack of civility?
Lack of civility, yeah.
Uncivil?
Yeah, but I think you're right. It is a choice. And you said it earlier, it can be hard work because inside of you, you may be thinking, I don't like that person.
Yeah.
But keep a smile on, be polite, welcome. Hey, thank you for that question. And, that's a very good point. Let me look into it. Or we shared the financials last month. Let me find those for you. And I'll get that information to you. Let me get your email address and I'll send that information to you. And like you said, treating them like a person, like they matter. And that makes so much of a difference. Kevin, it's always a treat. We have this outline about where we think we might go, and it's fun to see where it actually does go. Now you're committing us to a closeout episode in 2 years to find out how we did on this. So we may do just that. Anyway, any closing thoughts to add at this time?
I think, again, we have to understand that it's contagious. And if we focus on that contagion and say we're going to move it from point A to point B to kindness, I think we all will do a lot better in the long run.
Yeah, it's a choice. And to our audience, you can do it. We encourage you, and we're going to be in there ourselves. Well, we hope you learned some HOA insights from our discussion today that helps you bring common sense to your common areas. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to bringing many more episodes to you week after week after week. We'll be here, and it'll be great to have you join us on a regular basis. Spread the word.
You've been listening to HOA Insights, Common Sense for Common Areas. You can listen to the show on our podcast website, hoainsights.org, or subscribe on any of the most popular podcast platforms. You can also watch the show on our YouTube channel. Check the show notes for helpful links. If you like the show and want to support the work we do, you can do so in a number of ways. The most important thing you can do is engage in the conversation. Leave a question in the comments section on our YouTube video. You can also email your questions or voice memos to podcast@hoainsights.org or leave us a voicemail at 805-203-3130. If you get any insights from the show, please do us a huge favor by sharing the show with other board members you know. You can also support us by supporting the brands that sponsor this program. Please remember that the views and opinions expressed by the podcast do not constitute legal advice. You'll want to consult your own legal counsel before making any important decisions. Finally, this podcast was expertly mixed and mastered by Stokelight Video and Marketing. With Stokelight on your team, you'll reach more customers with marketing expertise that inspires action. See the show notes to connect with Stokelight.